Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm your host and the founder and CEO of the Bobby White Foundation. I want to thank you for joining us here. We got a lot of information coming along with this show, but first, I want to thank my producer John and Area 52 Media Group. Without them, I wouldn't be here, literally. And they're great, super supportive. I'm learn a lot every week, so that we can continue to bring more information to you and upgrade our information. And our other, our one of our sponsors is DeLynn Gaston from the mortgage firm. Anything mortgages, I repeat myself every single time, but it's worth it. She is the best in the business. She has, I'm not going to tell you how many years experience, but a lot of years experience. And if you're refinancing or you're brand new to wanting to purchase a home and you don't know what direction to go or what you need to do, this gal, she will walk you through every step of the way so that you have all your ducks in a row when the time comes and you find that right forever home. So be sure you contact her. And I know her personally, so I know I'm a little biased, but she is the best. So it's the beginning of summer, and here in Florida, it's the beginning of hurricane season, but that doesn't stop the work that we are here to do. It just adds another layer to it. So the next 3 months is really big for us, preparing for our major fundraiser, Art for Hope, which is coming up September 12th, and it's going to be held again at the Hilton Garden Inn. They're great supporters, sponsors, for myself, the foundation, for Art for Hope. They've been with us from the beginning. And it's going to be a great event. It's an uplifting event. We're going to have a lot of art for sale, speakers, our gift basket raffle, a lottery board raffle. It's an uplifting event. It really is. Every year, it's there's something new, and it's really great. But in order to be able to put that on, we need our sponsors, and so we do have our first two sponsors. Of course, our Hope sponsor, our presenting sponsor, is Area 52 Media Group. And just like our Da Vinci sponsor, Precision Surveying and Mapping, these two sponsors have been with us since the very beginning of all this. Of course, Area 52 Media Group, Precision Survey and Mapping is the company that Bobby worked for many years. He was still working with them till the day before he died, before that decision was made. But John Robbins, owner, has been very supportive for everything that we've been doing since losing Bobby. It was a shock to them too, as it was to everybody. But we really want to thank them. And if you want to be a sponsor for Art for Hope, you'll get recognition here on the show on all our different social media platforms, everything. And the sooner you sponsor, the longer you have your name out there and be associated with a worthy cause. It's unfortunately it's well, not totally it's going to be mainstream because it's not residing, so, or rescinding or whatever. It's not going backwards, it's still going forwards. But anyways, so you can support us as being a sponsor for the event, sponsor for the show. Come and participate. Attending the event is free. We will have light hors d'oeuvres and a cash bar as usual. Some sort of music. I haven't figured that one out yet. I have an idea of what we want, which is again different than what we've had before, but I won't know about that probably for another month or so. But as we move towards the event, on our Art for Hope Facebook page, I'll be posting, just like, I try and do when we do the show at least an image of some of the artwork that's going to be available at Art for Hope. So we have this week, we have this one piece that I'm featuring, which actually happens to be hanging behind me. It is called Cobblestone Village by Marilyn Simindel. It is I believe it's a serigraph or a giclée on canvas. It's a beautiful piece, framed. It's probably about, I don't know, an average size going to standard size, like around 24 by 30. So that's just an example of one of the pieces that'll be available. And of course, when I put these on either the website or the Facebook pages, you can purchase these prior to the event if you really want to, which would be a really great idea, because then you don't have to wait for the event. And that gets us a little bit more ahead of the game prior to the event. You don't have to worry about it. We're going to have plenty of artwork even at the event. Some of these pieces are purchased prior to. We even have some Disney sales coming up. So that's really pretty cool. So last week we started discussing a bit about this thing that the Biden-Harris administration came out with, along with, it was the work of a lot of organizations and people, which was the National Strategy for Suicide Prevention. And I think I had mentioned last week that this was the first time that anything like this had been done, which I was totally wrong. But reading through it, the beginning of it, the Surgeon General did a preface letter. So it gave me and everybody else more background, which you can find this on the website there that John's showing. The whole thing, it's so in depth. But I'm going to give you a kind of an overview of what the Surgeon General put in here. And this is for the 2024, but it's coming about and being so much, I don't know if it's being more important or being emphasized more because of the state of our mental health in this country, and which COVID exacerbated a bit. But they actually started this 25 years ago. They said 25 years ago, who the Surgeon General then was Dr. David Satcher, which was a call to action to prevent suicide. And it was a landmark report that recognized suicide as a major public health concern in the United States. And they created the foundation for the first National Strategy for Suicide Prevention, which was released in 2001, which, of course, I didn't know about it. And which is the case, I think, of most people. And I even believe that, people like me, that this wasn't our life back then. And even though it is our life now, there's so much more that we don't know because the information is just so hard to get and to get to. And but it's getting better, which is really good. So the first national strategy was released in 2001. And then in 2012, it was updated by the Surgeon General, Dr. Regina Benjamin, and along with the National Action Alliance for Suicide Prevention, which they make it short, Action Alliance. And then A subsequent call to action was actually released in 2021 by Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams, which the 2012 and 2021 objectives um, hadn't all been implemented at the time. So his goal is to fully implement goals and objectives that had been previously set forth, and the changes that need to be made now with the changes in the rates of suicide in our country, which has increased every year. Now, I was looking at some data, and they said, and which I don't remember this, but I got to go with what they said, that because I've always said that there has not been a decline in the suicide rates in the last 30 years. Well, evidently in 2019 and 2020, there was a teeny bit of decline that could be measured. But then it went back up to this line that this is the way it's been going. So, even though there's been a lot of progress, there's been a lot of changes over the last couple of decades since the original strategies. So, they coordinated this comprehensive approach to prevention to include communities and the government, and at every level. So the Biden and Harris administration took this on as part of the steps to address our mental health crisis that has been plaguing our country for decades. And again, back when all this other started, this was not part of mine or, many people's lives. Yes, I was familiar with suicide when I was a kid, I don't know, 12 or so. Dear friends of ours, their uncle took his life. That was our first experience. And I remember vividly the very beginning of what happened, what was going on at that time. And then after graduating high school, the same family, the grandfather, who was the father of the uncle, took his life. And then we had, right after graduating high school, we had a high school classmate take his life. And that was it. And at the time, with the last two, I lived all the way across country. I wasn't living in town. So, but, it was there, but it wasn't there. So anyways, and even, it's been a little over 8 years since we lost Bobby to suicide. I didn't know where any of this information was, or if there was any information, or how to get it. And because, number one, you don't start at the top, you kind of start locally, which that's the hard part. So anyways, and then, as I said, this has been going on, for decades. The COVID pandemic, exacerbated things. So it became even more critical. And I even said it at the beginning of COVID that it was going to get worse during this time. So they got together all these agencies, and field experts, and came up with this new strategy for 2024. So the new strategy is a critical component to our nation's work to improve our mental health and overall well-being. And since 2021, the current Surgeon General has made mental health and well-being his top priority. In 2023, they released Surgeon General's advisory on our epidemic of loneliness and isolation, which describes the harms of loneliness and isolation on both the individual and societal health. Now, where did this came on the foot of COVID, is everybody had to isolate, and especially for our youth, it was hard. It wasn't good. And that isolation affects or increases the risk of depression, anxiety, suicide, even premature death. So they needed to continue the attention and focus on social connections, which is a key protective factor for health and well-being, including protecting against suicide risk. And then there's two other recommendations, which is to protect the mental health of our youth. And the first is the Advisory on Protecting Youth Mental Health, which was released in 2021. And that outlines policies, institutional and individual changes to treat and prevent mental health challenges, including expanding and strengthening suicide prevention and mental health crisis services. The second advisory was on social media and youth mental health, which was also released in 2023 and describes the potential benefits and harms of social media use and calls for urgent action to create safer and healthy online environments to protect children. And I mean, it's no secret that social media, COVID exacerbated it, but our youth and social media and bullying, because the kids can do it behind the screen, increased exponentially. And it just, when I was a kid, I didn't get bullied too much. I got bullied by one person in junior high school. But when we were getting bullied, it was you'd go to school, you'd get bullied, you'd come home, and that was it. Now, these kids, it's 24/7. It didn't happen when we were at home because our parents were there and we lived across the street from each other. But now it's 24/7. It's behind a screen. Multiple children can be attacking one child. I mean, it's just absolute craziness. If and I know it's difficult because at times are way different, but I just, fortunately or unfortunately, we didn't have children, so I didn't have to worry about this part of trying to raise a child with all this social media. But it's, I mean, I know personally, have met or talked to people who have lost children to bullying, and social media was a key factor in that. But anyways, I got to keep going. So anyway, suicide still remains a serious public health threat and touches the lives of so many Americans. And in 2022, these are our latest statistics, over nearly 50,000 people lost their lives to suicide. Now, John's got up on the screen there one of the graphs that are in within this document here. And so this one here shows suicide rates by race and ethnicity. I can't get that word out sometimes. So it's really hard for me to go over these numbers because it's just it blows your mind. And then that's table 2, and look at table 3. Of course, is broken down by male and female, and you know it shows there more males take their lives than females, um, by a much higher rate. But one death by suicide is too much. And then these figures here, I kind of find it interesting living in Florida and growing up in Washington State. We're the same colors. But as you can see, in kind of in the Midwest, or West Midwest, north to south, how much higher it is. And then the ages, you know, the number of suicides, 493 children between the ages of 10 to 14. And then, oh my gosh. And then, it gets higher as we go into, look at the 25 to 34 ages. I mean, it's crazy. So anyway, so this national strategy they put together, there's more information that I want to give you, but I want to jump ahead a little bit here. So they put out, in this publication, there's 4 strategic directions. Okay, and the first one, which I think is really, really important, and it's what this foundation has strived for, kind of from the beginning, even not knowing, we're coming from it from not knowing what we're doing. We're coming at from it from the lived experience. But this strategic direction number 1 is community-based suicide prevention. And so the goals are to, 1, establish effective, broad-based, collaborative, and sustainable suicide prevention partnerships. And again, like I said, we've said, we've always wanted to partner with other organizations, whether it be other community organizations, local, state, federal, because not a one of us are going to be able to tackle this on our own. It's too big. It's bigger than all of us. It's bigger than all of our one organizations. The second goal is to support upstream comprehensive community-based suicide prevention. Reduce access to lethal means and people at risk of suicide, which this is really good. This is something that, I've mentioned before. We're partners with Zero Suicide Partners of Pinellas County, Zero Suicide Partners of Hillsborough County, and our Pasco County Zero Partners. We wanted to be different, so we changed our name. Our acronym is SAFE, but we have a subcommittee, kind of, I don't know if that's the right term, but that we started, which is our Safer Gun program. We just had a meeting, and information is really starting to flow in. There's a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of work that has been done. We saw a report from Louisiana, where one of the things is with lethal means, to have a place, if somebody is in crisis and they own firearms, to have a safe place to store the firearms out of their reach, whether it be law enforcement or gun shops. And one of the things with the gun shops, which they already have that built in, is the liability. So I'll have all the information next week what Louisiana did. So this is all part of the Care, Connect, and Collaborate, and being the big number 1 strategic direction of this whole thing. So this thing is huge, and I want to bring you the information kind of like in bite-sized pieces. And I'm learning it and sharing it with you so that you can learn it. And in the meantime, you can go, to the website and get all this information on your own. So they put in this strategic plan a dedication, and instead of my uplifting thing, this is the dedication. To those who we have lost to suicide, to those who struggle with thoughts of suicide, to those who have made suicide attempts, to those caring for someone who struggles with thoughts of suicide, to those left behind after a death by suicide, to those in recovery, to all those who work tirelessly to prevent suicide and suicide attempts in our nation every day. We believe we can and we will make a difference. This is really hard work. It's hard work for everybody. Remember, keep those numbers in your phone. Part of the national strategy was to get that 911 or 988 number out there, and they accomplished it. So please, as we always say, remember, there is always hope. Thank you.